Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Live with Thrive, a podcast dedicated to sharing and celebrating the remarkable journeys, hurdles, and victories of women who navigate the intricate landscape of womanhood, motherhood, and career. I'm your host, Dr. Allison Harris Welcher, the creator of Thrive Life Coaching. Each episode, we dive into candid conversations with inspiring guests who generously share their personal narratives, insights, and strategies for triumph. From juggling family duties to pursuing professional aspirations, these women impart priceless wisdom and motivation to listeners striving to thrive in every facet of life. Welcome to our episode number 10. If you are calling in, listening in, please do take a moment to introduce yourself. We are streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We invite you to please share with your friends. Take a moment to tag a few women that you think could really use some inspiration and some enlightenment on this Tuesday evening. Whether you're balancing the demands of motherhood, excelling in your career, or seeking empowerment in womanhood, this podcast is your go-to resource for inspiration, guidance, and support. So again, welcome to our 10th episode of Live with Thrive. I'm so happy that you're here. As we get settled into the evening, I want to again invite you to please comment the city and the state that you're calling in from, listening in from. This will also help us to know that we are actually live streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And before we dive in, I want to share a special resource with everyone. As we know, we are just about, halfway through the year, more than halfway through the year. And we are excited to really continue to set our goals and reach our goals for the year. So I want to share just a resource that I have for everyone to really consider about how you can finish strong the 2024 year. So take a moment, write that link down, encourage you to download this free resource that can help you really navigate finishing 2024 strong. And with that, I want to welcome our very special guest, Dr. Mala Freeman-Kwaku. Let's welcome her to the stage. Hello, Dr. Mala.
Hello, how are you?
Hi. I am doing well. Thank you so much for joining this evening. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. I've actually known you for a really long time, which makes me excited to have this conversation. Dr. Mala Freeman-Kwaku is the lead physician at Arboretum Gynecology, formerly Arboretum Obstetrics and Gynecology. Practices gynecology only with her practice, and she has a special interest in treatment of symptomatic uterine fibroids, heavy menstrual bleeding, and menopausal symptoms. So there might be some women out there who are already ears are perked. They want to know what you have to share and say. She is married to Dr. Kwaku, and she is the mother of 4 children and enjoys traveling. Tonight's episode is entitled Switching Gears and Finding New Joy. We will engage in a thoughtful dialogue with Dr. Mala, delving into her experience of making significant shifts in her career and how her decision reshaped her life, bringing her new perspectives and fulfillment. So excited to have this conversation and learn from you. But before we do that, I want to let the folks get to know you a bit. So I have just a few questions for you. So feel free to answer in whatever way you feel comfortable. All right.
Okay.
So to kick us off, how do you recharge or unwind after a stressful day?
It's very interesting. I don't know if I can say that as of late, I have really stressful days. I think that the key for me is I start my day off right. And I think that this makes the day go better. I usually start my day with a little meditation and prayer. And then I do a little bit of exercise, no matter how small. If I have just a little bit of time, I get on my treadmill over there and I'll run a little bit, like a mile. And if I have more time, I try to run like 2 miles. And that usually starts off the day well. And I find that, interestingly, if I start off with those 2 things, the day goes so well. And I find that by the end of the day, I don't find myself as overwhelmed and stressed as I used to be.
I love that. So how you start is indication of how you might end your day. Already dropping gems already. Love it. Next question is, what's a misconception people often have about your profession as a medical doctor, as a gynecologist?
That is a loaded question because I think there are a lot of different things I could say for that. I mean, I think, for instance, physicians in general, I think people think we're millionaires. There's that. So that's one kind of misconception that is probably more of a basic misconception. I think there's also a misconception that all doctors want to prescribe medicine for everything. Like there's a fix for everything. I don't know. I think there's also misconception that sometimes doctors have the answers for everything and we don't. So, I mean, that, like I said, that question, we could be here for an hour just talking about everything from A to Z, but those are probably 3 really common misconceptions.
Got it. Got it. Well, thank you for sharing those. And hopefully folks know that is not the case, right? Y'all don't have all the answers. You might be a millionaire or billionaire one day.
And I'm receiving it.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you talked about your morning routine and getting up, running a mile, running 2 miles sometimes. What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
I just enjoy what I do. So I don't have a fear or dread of going to work. I will say that as I've gotten older, it's harder to get out of the bed, and not because I don't want to, but just because it just feels so snuggly and warm and I enjoy it. And my youngest daughter is 12. When she was in elementary school, I used to spring out of the bed at like 6 o'clock because she had to get on the bus at 6:30. Now she doesn't have to leave until 8:15. So there's a little less springing. I just enjoy going to work. I enjoy, all of the activities that I get into during the day. And I feel like I start my day prepared for the day. So I think that motivates me to not just roll over and decide I'm going to call in, which I pretty much never do.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Well, last getting to know you question, who has been a role model or a mentor in your life and why?
I have so many mentors. My family is made up. My mother's siblings, between herself and her siblings, there were 7 of them, and there were 5 girls, including my mom, and there were 2 brothers. And I mean, my family has really been. I have to say, I haven't really thought about that question. I kind of usually answer with maybe this person or that person, but I realized my entire family has been an inspiration to me because each one of my aunts has been special in her own way. My oldest aunt was a teacher. She was the hostess of the family, the matriarch of the family after my grandmother passed. And she was an excellent cook. And she was someone that always had hugs and love. And she was very Southern woman, hospitable, welcoming. I have 2 aunts that are what I call my professional aunts, and that's my aunt that's the doctor, and my aunt attorney, and that's how we often refer to them. So we kind of know who we're talking about if we're not talking to like family members. And we've both been very inspirational to me as women who have worked, who've raised families, who've had careers, who've traveled, who've loved, who've managed a lot of different things. Obviously, my mom is an inspiration to me. She was divorced when I was young from my dad, and she was a working mom, somehow made all of it work, was able to instill upon me a lot of independence, and taught me how to cook, taught me how to sew, taught me how to do a lot of very, very practical things. I mean, I just have so many mentors, but I would say that, if I had to list one person that kind of rises above, it would be my Aunt Wilfreda, because my Aunt Wilfreda Ball is a physician in Philadelphia. She's retired now, but she's someone who always exhibited a can-do spirit. She is a graduate of Hampton University. It was then Hampton Institute.
Right.
She is an AKA.
Okay.
I'm wearing pink today, but I am a Delta Sigma Theta.
All right.
Because we have a little bit of
My
everything.
mother-in-law and sister-in-law will be glad to hear that.
And she went to school. She was very, very smart, very, very smart. And I remember her telling me the story of how when she went for her master's degree, the only scholarship she could get was meteorology or something like that. And so she went and got a degree in meteorology, and she married and went on to have children. And her husband was in law school, and she always wanted to go to medical school. And unlike most men who would say, well, I'm going to go get my career and you just kind of stay at home and teach, be a teacher or whatever, he encouraged her to go back to medical school. And that was very progressive at the time, I think, for the two of them to be in school together. And sadly, he passed away while she was in medical school. So while my aunt was in medical school, she was a widow. She had, two small children, my cousins, who were like, I think 8 and 12 at the time. And she finished school with the help of a neighbor who helped take care of her kids when she wasn't, available. I mean, she just did so many things. And in our family now, she's very much a hostess. She loves to have parties in her yard. She has a beautiful yard in Philadelphia. So I learned a lot from her about how to kind of work through adversity, how to do things in a non-conventional way. And she just really exhibits the can-do spirit for me.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's a perfect segue to really our first question. It might be similar here, but what was your motivation behind becoming a medical doctor, specifically focused on women? And what prompted you to even explore this career field? Was it this aunt, or did you have some additional inspiration?
I think even before my aunt was in medical school, I mean, no one really believes the story that I tell, but my mother being sort of single in the 70s, if you're not of that generation, you probably don't remember, but there used to be this huge women's movement, Planned Parenthood, Free to Be You and Me. Women were like, our bodies, ourselves. And she had all these books around. My mom was always very liberal and very progressive. And she, kind of taught me a lot about just kind of being yourself.
Right.
And I used to read those books when I was a little girl, and I just was very fascinated with women's health and childbirth in particular. And I really just thought it was fascinating. And I was like the girl on the street. I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, and I was the girl that, taught everyone about their periods and what was going on. So interestingly, I just remember as early as the age of 8, deciding that I was going to be an obstetrician gynecologist. And that's what I decided I was going to do.
Yeah. I love that. So right into our next question. You were my OB for both of my children. So many of the viewers, as I posted about this episode, they were like, that's my doctor. That's my doctor. It's like, yeah, funny. She's great. And you made a pretty big decision to shift from doing both OB and gynecology to focus solely on gynecology. And so share with us, what led to that decision. And for some people, they might think, oh, she's an OB and a gynecologist. That's an easy decision, but that was a pretty significant decision. So talk with us just like what led you to that decision, and how did it impact your life and your career?
There's so many things that came into play during that decision. And I'll first say that one of the things that drives my life is, and sort of helps me make a lot of decisions, is my love of Christ. I'm a woman of faith, and I believe that God has led me to do many, many different things. And he's actually given me a lot of strength to do a lot of the things that I've done in my life. And I'm very, very grateful for that, because by my own strength, I would have just collapsed and that would have been the end of me. But, just to kind of keep the story high and light, I had sort of a revelation, my husband and I, about, working and what we wanted to do as far as starting to sort of wind down a little bit. And I realized that I wanted to spend more time with my family. I wanted to spend less time working. We had, built a lovely home, and, we're having a wonderful life that we were enjoying. But we realized that the trappings of the world were sort of kind of keeping us going in a certain direction with our careers. And we just really wanted to continue working and continue practicing medicine, but we didn't want to work so hard. Right. And so we decided to basically downsize our lives. And from that decision, we were able to do some other things. I mean, this was really like at the beginning of the pandemic as well. And my oldest son was a high school senior at the beginning of the pandemic. He went away to college. And honestly, you know, he was struggling a lot. And I found it incredibly difficult to manage the needs of my family with the needs of taking care of obstetrical patients, because you guys are some needy people. I mean, and it's one of those lives where you're 1 minute everything's going great, and the next minute things are hitting the fan. And it's not even so much like leaving your house or being with the patients or going to the hospital. It was more of the stress involved in always being on and having to, you know, be there for my partners, be there for the patients, not travel with family, going and doing different things because of the amount of work that we were doing. And I really took a step back mentally and thought to myself over a few months period, you know, I say this honestly, and that is that I truly love my patients. I really love working, and I love, you know, when women come in and tell me all their little stories, and then we kind of pick up the next year with the next annual, what happened with this, that. And I really didn't want to leave. I had many opportunities to do other things that have been less work, more money. I've been in practice in this one practice that I'm in since I graduated from residency. I've never had another job. So which is completely unusual. Like no doctor you talk to will do that. And I'm a relationship person. So once I'm there, I'm in it. We're married and this is what we're doing. So I didn't want to leave. And I really realized that the only way that I could continue with my patients, be with my family, and work a whole lot less was to, you know, stop practicing obstetrics. And initially the decision was hard. And I really felt bad because, you know, the patients would come in and, you know, as people delivered, I couldn't take new patients. And then some had to transfer out because I stopped. But it's become much easier now. People know that they can come and see me. And we have our little relationship. And then when you get pregnant, you go and have your baby. And then 9 months later, you can come right back and we can still keep on, you know, and people do that all the time.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
I'll be hunting you down in Costco and telling you to make an appointment. It's been cool. It's been okay.
Good. So
and
what
I still do a little bit
part
part-time. I work for a local hospital and I do a little bit part-time. So I always add that disclaimer. Not because I feel like I need to overshare every aspect of my life, but I don't want to like keep that part secret as if I practice no obstetrics, because it's I mean, delivering a baby is a skill you never want to lose as well. And it does give me a little extra income, and you know, helps me do a few other things like putting these kids through college. But
for sure.
But
it's you made an intentional decision, right, to basically align your life to what you wanted, right, in this season. And so I'm just curious, you know, what did you learn about yourself during this time that maybe you didn't realize before? Or have there been new revelations?
I mean, a lot was going on at the time. You know, we were a 3 full-time doctor and 1 half-time doctor. Our half-time doctor is Dr. Warren, and she's still with us. And we've been together. I mean, I've been with my partner, Dr. Page, for 20 years at that point, fresh out of residency. She and I attended UVA together, and we met literally at a cocktail party at a reception before I even finished my training. And I just like on the spot asked her, you think you'll be needing some help, you know, in the next year and a half? And she said, I might, you know, come and interview. And once I came and interviewed and I saw Charlotte and I saw the practice, and I was really impressed with the fact that she was able to pick me up from the airport and drive me all around. And like, I'm like, her life doesn't seem too chaotic. And it was great. So that's what kind of convinced me to come to Charlotte. And then once I decided that, you know, I told my husband that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So it was fun. And so we worked together for 20 years. And then Dr. Cannon, we worked together for 16 years.
Wow.
And we're all still, we're all still friends. But I even forgot a question. I'm just reminiscing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just what have you learned, right? So life looks and feels a little bit differently now.
When I made a decision, it had ramifications. That's what I learned. Like sometimes when you say something, you think you're going to do your little part and everybody's going to still do their part, and once I said, I'm going to stop OB, that leaves, instead of every third night, that leaves 2 people to do every other night. And that's not even a thing. Like most hospital practices have 6 or 7 doctors, a couple of midwives, and you might be on call once every 7, 8, 9 days. We were on call every third night for 20 years. I mean, that is a lot. Yeah. And God forbid someone go on vacation, because then it's like every other.
Right.
And you'd come back from vacation and then you'd be every other. So it's like you didn't even want to go on vacation because you knew you'd have to work twice as much. But we did that, and we made it work. And we have a wonderful patient population who were very nice to us and didn't call us for all kind of nonsense. They called us and said, I'm having a baby. And we'd like, okay, let's do this. But I learned that I can land on my feet for sure.
Yeah.
I learned that I believe God led me to do what I was doing. And I really called upon him to help me navigate some really tough situations. I mean, finances were difficult. I had to learn how to run a business by myself. We did sell our practice to another company, but that company gives us a lot of autonomy.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to do payroll. I had to learn how to order supplies. I had to learn how to market, do marketing. I had to learn how to do a lot of stuff that I never learned how to billing. I never learned how to do any of that before.
Yeah.
And with, God behind me, he helped me, and I was able to figure it out. And now I feel like, we're cruising along, and things are, the wrongs have been righted, and we're moving right along. And so it taught me a lot. It taught me that, man, if I can dissect the body, I can figure out how to order paper and hand sanitizer. I can figure this out.
Right. I love it. Now, you started earlier by sharing just, the life you were experiencing in your career was one where, you're always kind of on the run, which, I perhaps assume was always maybe causing some level of anxiety or stress or exhaustion. You're just always on the go. And that's really common for most women, right? Balancing career and motherhood. And, you didn't use exactly these words, but it seemed like you had a vision for freedom, right? You and your husband, a vision for how to spend your time in a way that felt more genuine to you right now. And so, what would you say to women who are listening right now and feel stuck, right? Who feel like, they're trying to get to something. They know they need something different, but they just can't, they're not quite ready to make that leap. What would you offer them?
I would have them start by doing an inventory of their lives. And you will never go from 0 to 100. But what you can do is start getting yourself ready for the next step. And sometimes, especially if it's a job that you are in that you're really not that much of a fan of, you don't want that job to have you by the cojones, okay? You don't want it such that if I lose this job, I got 2 paychecks and I'm done. This might be the time to start downsizing. I had a friend, she had, almost $300 worth of cable with all the movie channels and this and that. And I thought to myself, I'm a doctor and I got Sling TV.
Yeah.
And we're paying $60 a month. I don't even know how much it is. My husband pays it. But like we had to cut down the cable because it was like, why do we have all these cable shows and this? Why are we, Time Warner was holding us hostage every month, just really ridiculous things like that. Or for instance, maybe you like driving nice cars and maybe you want to drive a new car soon. Maybe you don't need to buy a new car. Maybe you need to keep that Toyota that's going to run 300,000 miles and just drive it. Yeah. And if you were thinking about getting a new car, put that money in the bank and save it. I mean, I think a lot of times we get, and that was what kind of ministered to us, is that a lot of times we get stuck in things because of financial And that's usually the, we don't stay at Time Warner or at Wells Fargo because we just love the environment.
Right.
We don't do that. We stay there because we love the check.
Right.
And the reality of it is you can get a paycheck many places and still be, and work and be happy.
Yeah.
But you have to think about what's most important. And that's your sanity, your mental health, and you're feeling like you enjoy being where you are and going to work.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So as we begin to conclude our discussion, I want to make sure you have an opportunity just to share any final thoughts or words of encouragement for women who are seeking to thrive. What would you
First thing is get your health in order.
Yes.
I think we as women, we put so many people first. We take care of our children, we take care of our families, so we take care of our parents. And the last thing we do is take care of ourselves. And let's not even delve into the idea of self-care where we're meditating, praying, exercising, doing things for our sanity and to what makes us. Let's talk about even something as simple as what we put in our bodies, because a lot of women come to me and they have a lot of complaints about many different things, but they're not taking the first steps. Their diets are out of whack. They're not exercising. They don't get sufficient sleep. I mean, and really nothing is going to sleep, exercise, looking at the foods that you eat, because that is the first step to good mental health. And once you get those things in order, the rest of it kind of falls in line a lot easier, and you feel better so you can make better decisions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I'll share this, another connecting point. I didn't know this, but Dr. Mala and I are both in E2M. It is an online fitness program. And I share that to say, one is, we're pretty smart people. Dr. Mala is actual doctor. And if you need help, right, or you want advice around how to eat healthy, how to take care of your body, it's okay to go get help. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm just always inspired. I mean, I was already sold seeing, the transformations, but when I saw my own doctor, my own OB/GYN in the group, I was like, yes. And I'll tell you this story, Dr. Mala. I don't know if you remember it. I can't remember if it was before I was pregnant or as I was trying to get pregnant. And there's a McDonald's across the street from the office. I walked in one day with a sweet tea and I was just enjoying my good sweet tea. And it was one of them big ones. And you just, with all the love and respect, looked at me and said, now look, if you're going to lose this weight, you're going to have to stop drinking those sweet teas. I was like, yes, ma'am. But at the time, I didn't really have, I think, a strong understanding of, what sugar was doing to my body and sugary drinks. And, it's okay if I have a large sweet tea once, twice a week. I just didn't have that knowledge. So I'll always remember that story, even then, of just how gracefully you told me that. And I think it was like, all right, girl, if you trying to get pregnant, you don't need to lose a little bit more weight here, so you can be healthy, right? And have a healthy pregnancy. But just say that to say, this journey of being healthy, it is so true, right? And we have to take the steps we need to be good to ourselves so we can be good to others.
Yes.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Mala, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and invaluable advice with us. Where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about you and your work?
Well, I'm at the Arboretum Gynecology, and our number is 704-341-1103. Obviously, if you need an appointment. Our Facebook is Arboretum Gynecology, and of course, you see there our Instagram is at Arboretum Gyne. And that's pretty much that. Next week, we have a program for fibroid management if you have some problems with fibroids. And I'm also hoping to, get more, do more interviews and just be able to talk more, because I feel like the conversation we're having now is like the same kind of conversations we have every day in the office with women, how to get more, how to be more, but not stretch ourselves so thin.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So again, this is the event that Dr. Mala shared. She is doing a special talk. If you're in the Charlotte area, highly encourage you to RSVP for this event and join Dr. Mala. Even if you are not maybe having any concerns or issues with fibroids, you might know another woman who is, or just come learn. This is something that affects Black women a lot. And so you definitely want to just build your knowledge. And outside of that, as you can tell, Dr. Mala is just, when she says she's a relationship person, she is like, she sets the standard for bedside manner and
Oh,
doctors. And
thank
so
you.
I expect nothing less from the rest of my medical physicians that I have in my life. And you set the bar. So thank
Oh,
you so much. And again, please go and follow Dr. Freeman and the Arboretum Gynecology practice on all of the socials. Thank you again, Dr. Freeman.
thank you so much. This was a wonderful time. I just love chatting with you anyway.
Thank you. All right. Again, thank you all so much for joining this evening. Hope that you can, if you're in the Charlotte area, please consider joining this event with Dr. Freeman. Also, just want to again encourage folks, we are more than halfway through 2024. And if you're anything like me, you set some goals at the start of the year. And we are, 6 months in, got less than 6 months left here. And so if you are feeling like you need to jumpstart those goals again and make sure that you hit them, I have a free resource for you to download. Encourage you to scan the QR code or go to that link there, Finish Strong 2024. And it's just a guide that can help you learn some reflective questions and some steps that you can take to reach those 2024 goals that you have. Also, just want to share, I would love to connect with you if you are in search of any support or coaching regarding how to navigate womanhood, motherhood, and career. Invite you to please schedule a 15-minute empowerment strategy session. My books are open. I love talking to women and encouraging women and developing them and helping them have a way to navigate through. So feel free to go to that scheduling link and find a time that we can chat together. And as we close out, again, thank you for joining. We are on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Encourage you to like, follow, and share. And with that, we'll go ahead and close out. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for joining.